Welcome to Creepy Joe's Horror Show! With special guest, Slip Rick the Skeleton.
It's not my fault the babes like me, man.
Also, Flo!
Perverts.
And don't forget about your legendary loser host himself, Creepy Joe!
Welcome to Creepy Joe's Horror Show. Tonight we have Invaders from Mars, 1986.
Invaders from Mars is a 1986 film by Tobe Hooper and is about a boy who sees a spaceship land in his yard and tries to stop them from invading his town.
Alright guys, Invaders from Mars, let's get into this. A lot of people hate this movie because it was I don't know if it was a remake or an adaptation or whatever to the 1950s version. And this one is directed by Tobe Hooper, and the screenplay of this movie was done by, one of my favorites of all time, Dan O'Bannon, as you know, directed the Return of the Living Dead, and I believe he wrote or did the screenplay or something for Aliens. I should know this stuff, but I forget.
You can't do this to people. You can't control them. It's wrong.
But anyway, this has a pretty decent cast. I mean, there's some notable people on there. We have the nurse who's played like Nurse Linda, who's played by Karen Black, and if you remember correctly, she is Mother Firefly on House of a Thousand Corpses. She's in so many movies. Actually, we're going to get more into her later. But then you have the kid, David, who's played by Hunter Carson, which, interestingly enough, I believe this is true. I believe that the kid is Karen Black's son. So they're mother and son. And yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he is in real life. So not in the movie. She's just the nurse. Now his mother in the movie is Ellen, played by Lorraine Newman, and she was on Saturday Night Live, and she was involved. She played in she was in Problem Child 2. She's like the evil woman that wants to marry the dad. Yeah, so she's been in other stuff. She's not like a nobody. And then George, his dad, who's played by Tim Bottoms, which I've never seen or heard of him before, but I'm sure he's in a million other things as well. And then the General, who's one of my favorite characters, played by James Karen, who, as you know, is in Return of the Living Dead and a bunch of other movies. But yeah, I really like James Karen.
Who? General Wilson.
And then you got Mrs. I'm gonna butcher this one. Mrs. McClelch, but she's played by Laurie Felder, I believe. Yeah, that's who it is. And it's Nurse Ratched. If you ever saw One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest with Jack Nicholson, which, interestingly enough, Jack Nicholson and Nurse Linda, Karen Black, play in a lot of movies together as well. Mother Firefly. Yeah. She's tons of 70s and 80s movies. But anyway, so the boy, David, they show him getting ready for bed with his parents, and they're a real nice family, and the mom and dad are in love. And
Hey, you hear that?
Hear what?
Thunder, Dad. You must be getting pretty old.
joking around, and it seems like a pretty wholesome American family in the 80s. And he wakes up in the middle of the night to a spaceship landing over the hill, kind of in the back of his house. And he goes and wakes his parents up, they're kind of like, yeah, whatever. And his dad goes and checks out the next morning. So when he wakes up in the morning, his dad is acting extremely weird. And he said he went over the hill and checked out the area, and there was nothing back there, the crash site. And he's acting really strange, and he noticed he has like a wound on the back of his neck. Slowly but surely, a lot of people start acting strange, and Nurse Ratchet or Miss McCloud, I'm not going to even try to say it, but McClouth, I don't think that's it, but whatever. She's like always been real mean to David in the school, but she is like seemingly extra evil, if that makes sense.
David Gardner has gone ahead and cut himself. And it probably serves him right.
You can tell that the aliens got to her too. Like the aliens are getting everybody, and they don't actually show it, but you know, the cops, you know, show up to his house to look for his dad because his dad was missing, and yeah, they go to check it out, and then they come back weird.
I tell you what, Mrs. Gardner, we'll go up and have a look.
Your little lad's got quite an imagination.
Yes.
And yeah, everyone starts getting weird. It gets both of his parents eventually, and the only 3 people, well, there's more than that, but the only 2 people mainly throughout the whole movie that aren't, you know, infected or taken over by the aliens, whatever, is the nurse and him and David.
What are we gonna do now?
They do end up getting to the military, and that's where, you know, they meet the general.
I don't mean to be rude, but I haven't got much time.
And a couple of his guys, and none of them are infected. I don't know if infected is the wrong term, but you know, the aliens haven't got to them yet, and so they're not acting weird. They're not possessed, and the aliens have these rods that go like right down through the back of the neck. And they're copper, and they find out that like these things need copper. And Danny finds the tunnel system and follows, you know, the mean teacher into the tunnel system and finds where, you know, the brain, which is really, that's another thing I have to add about this movie. The sets on this movie are fantastic. They're not your cheap B movie sets. Like, some money went into this. Like, the sets are really awesome.
Let her go!
You're a lucky boy, David Gardner.
The set design, you know, like, it had to have cost a lot of money, and like the props and the aliens, like, they didn't just do like a cheap, cheesy job on these aliens. So, you know, I think they were really trying to live up to the 1950s version, but a lot of people just didn't agree with it. He gets down into the tunnel system and comes across, because he follows the teacher, and he gets to like the main, you know, controller, which just looks like a brain coming out of the...
Poor little guy. Poor.
That's pretty much, you know, the military ends up getting involved, and they believe him, because, you know, the 2 guys that got sucked into the ground were on the base when they were being interrogated, when the nurse and David were being interrogated.
For hill search.
End up believing them. Then they go check out the site, and it just turns into like a straight action movie. Like, and that's why I say about the budget, because there were a lot of actors in this. Like, there was a lot of extras. You know, there was military personnel. Like, they had missiles, they had weapons. And they go down in the tunnel system searching for these, you know, creatures, aliens. And they just start like murking them. They start murdering all of them and shooting them, and they end up setting a bomb underground, and they have like, it's the longest 15 seconds I've ever seen in my life. The 15 seconds go on for like 5 minutes, but they're supposed to, detonate. They end up getting out and blowing it all up. And then once that's done, like, his parents go back to normal, and the town is saved. So he accomplished his goal, I suppose. But the movie kind of ends on a cliffhanger, because it's like he wakes up and it's all like happening again, like it's so the spaceship's landing. So that's kind of how it ends. A lot of people did not like this film. I don't really know why. It wasn't that bad. I mean, I thought it was cool for what it was. Maybe in the 80s, maybe, the old timers that were my age then, that grew up in the 50s, thought it sucked compared to their childhood film or whatever. I mean, I get it. So I'm gonna rate this movie the usual, what I rate freaking everything every day, I feel like, but it is what it is. It's a 3 out of 5. I can't give it a 4 out of 5, because that means it has to be like pretty decent. A 5 out of 5 is perfect. 2 out of 5 is like basically it sucks, and 1 out of 5 is horrific. So 3 out of 5 is good for this movie, I'd say. It had a lot of cool things going on in it, and I really, as far as cheese factor goes and everything, like I said, I can't say that it was all that cheesy. For the 80s, it looked good. You know what I mean? There's movies in the 80s that were made, they were so cheesy that they looked horrible. Even then, people were just like, I'm not even buying this. This is ridiculous. So this did well. I mean, you had to remember there was other movies out, like E.T. There was some other good alien movies. You got Stanley Kubrick making 2001. So like compared to his movie, like A Space Odyssey, it's it looks like shit. But for what it is, it was great, and solid 3 out of 5. I don't really know. I can't. I'm trying to like think of something like that I didn't like about it, but I can't really say there's too much that I disliked about it. But I guess because she was in so many awesome movies, and because she passed away in 2013, Karen Black. Let's get into a little bit of some of the movies that she was in. Now, there's way too many for me to mention, but we're just going to go over these quick. These are some of the horror movies that she was in. She was also in a lot of normal movies, actions, dramas. I say normal movies, like horror movies are normal to me, but yeah, she was in all different genres, comedy, I believe, and some. But anyway, we'll start with Burnt Offerings in 1976. Trilogy of Terror, 1975. I might have to review that because I haven't seen that since I was a kid. The Day of the Locust, 1975. And then I'll just throw it in there, of course, House of a Thousand Corpses, because from 2003, obviously, that was Rob Zombie's first film. It's one of the biggest films in horror today. It changed pop culture in a lot of ways. It was, whether you love it or hate it, House of a Thousand Corpses it's here to stay, and it's not going anywhere. But she was amazing in that. That was one of her last films, or not one of her last, but it was one of her newer, films, because she was mainly 70s and 80s. Auntie Lee's Meat Pies from 1993. That sounds interesting, and the description was pretty funny as well. So I'll have to check that out. Killer Fish, 1979. Which this is probably the newest one that she did, and I've never heard of it, and there's not even a cover for it, so I'm just going to throw a picture of what was on there when I researched it. But Ooga Booga, which is like, I think it's a racial movie, or, like, it has to do with like an African American getting murdered or something. And I read a little bit of it. I don't know anything about it, but you know, maybe I'll check it out someday. But that was 2013, and I believe she passed in 2013. So one of my, you know, this wasn't one of my favorites, but I love the Children of the Corn franchise, and she played in Children of the Corn 4 in 1996, which I watched all those over and over again when I was a kid. But It's Alive 3 in 1987. So I'm not, you know, I've never seen that one. But Children of the Night 1991, Dark Blood in 2012, and there's probably 50 more, man. I mean, there's a lot. So this is 2 of 31. You know, I'm going to do this 31 Nights of Halloween. I know everybody does it. Every horror channel does it. You know, I'm not doing it to copy off anybody. I'm just doing it because I love the season, and it gives me a good excuse to watch movies like this for 31 days straight. Now, typically I watch at least a horror movie a week anyway, you know, before bed or whatever. But, you know, if this gives me an excuse to just get into it and enjoy the season, watch some cheesy ones, you know, with the family, whatever. And, you know, a lot of these movies, like this movie, you could watch with your entire family. It's not like you could have your 5-year-old watching it. It's not, there's no sex in it. It's nothing like that. Like I don't even believe there was foul language in it. Like I can't even remember if they used the F word or anything like that. I don't believe so, to be honest, but you know, there might have been 1 or 2 in there that I just don't even notice. Thanks for hanging out, and stay tuned for tomorrow's video. I'm not even sure what it's going to be yet, but we'll see. So stay creepy.